Hi, everybody. This is Tracy from the Fairborn branch of the Greene County Public Library. I'm here today to talk to you about 10 common errors that can happen with your genealogy research and how you can avoid them. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay. So 10 common errors that you'll find in your research or mistakes you have made, or you'll find in other people's research when you're picking up theirs. So let's go ahead and get started. There are 10 kind of major errors people make when they're doing research. The ages don't add up for the person you're researching. You copy off the wrong person. You get a bad transcript or a bad index. There are typos. You're looking at the wrong John Smith. You're working way too fast or when you're tired. You never try anything new. You're not talking to people who are living. You only use one spelling for the name, and you're assuming everything's online. You may be guilty of one, some, or all. I know at some point in time in my research, I have been guilty of every single one of these things. So let's see what they look like and how we can avoid them. The first one, ages don't add up. What can this look like? If you're looking at events that happen for a person and you're looking at their kids and you see a child was born or died before the parent was born, probably an error. You need to look at that. They weren't old enough or they were too old for events. For example, I found documents where it said somebody enlisted at the age of 101, where people have this cited, no sources, but they have it cited. Probably not going to happen. They're not going to want a 101-year-old enlisting in any kind of military service. And again, they're not going to want a 2-year-old enlisting. They're having kids when they're way too old or way too young. 5-year-olds typically don't have kids. 70-year-old women, typically not having kids. 70-year-old men, there's a possibility, but 70-year-old women, not going to happen. So if you're coming across things and you see that the ages aren't quite right, you might want to back up, double check, make sure you're on the right person, make sure you have the right dates, all that kind of stuff. How can you avoid it? First, double check the birth year and the age of the event. So if they were enlisting in 1914 and they were born in 1916, you would subtract, you'd see they're 24 years old, and it's fairly possible that they were enlisting at the age of 24. If you see they were born in 1912 and they had a kid in 1920, they were 8. Chances are they weren't having kids at the age of 8. Another way to avoid it is to find multiple sources that have a consistent date. You want to look for very close to the same, if not exactly the same year. Depending on, like, if you're looking at censuses, when they were taken versus when the birthday was. If their birthday was in April and the census was taken in March, they may have them a year younger or older depending on when the day was. Also, if you're looking at delayed birth certificates and things like that that weren't issued at the exact time of birth, you may be a year or two off, but usually it's in the ballpark and it'll still be reasonable for your research. And use common sense. If you look at it and you see the kid was born in 1920 and it says the parent was born in 1912, probably not the right people, and this is an error and you need to go back and find some more information. The next is you're copying work off of the wrong person. Just like in high school, you want to be careful who you copy off of. You don't want to copy off Bob, Joe, Fred that doesn't really know anything. You want to make sure you're copying off the right person who knows what they're doing. So what can this look like? So let's say we are looking for John Smith. We find his birth certificate that Bob, Joe, Fred has posted, but the birth certificate you found is 100 years before what you thought his birthday should be. Another mistake people make is they just accept that what somebody has written is true. Whether it is or it's not, they just accept it because somebody has other facts that seem reasonable. And so if one fact's right, they're all right. Accepting facts from Bob, Joe, Fred that John Smith is in Virginia, but the John Smith you're looking for is from Kentucky. You want to make sure you have the right John Smith. There were multiple John Smiths running around, so make sure you have the right one. How can you avoid these mistakes? Double check. Is it the right John Smith? Do your dates match? Do you have the right parents, siblings, children? Are you in the right state, the right area, the right time period? Find multiple sources that have consistent information. So look for the census records, the birth records, the children's birth records, the deeds, the court records, and actually look at the original document if you can. If you can find a scanned copy on it online, great. If you can find an original, great. But read the document actually for yourself. You'll be surprised at how many times people type in something wrong, or they just read it incorrectly, or they transpose numbers when they're transcribing it. So read the original document for yourself and use common sense. If it sounds a little fishy, it probably is. For example, Elvis did not marry Cleopatra and they did not have a son named Bigfoot. But I'm sure if you Googled that somewhere online, you would find that and somebody have sources and to prove it. Use your common sense. Another mistake and error we run into is bad transcripts or indexes. These can give you an error. What this can look like, you can't find a record for a person. For example, I couldn't find this Thomas Candrell on Ancestry, and I knew he lived next door to his brother, and his brother was there. Ended up getting online, found it. We'll talk about that in a minute. Information doesn't match what you have. You have information that said they were born in January, but the document you're looking at, or the index or the transcription you're looking at, says they were born in June. There are no birth certificates for the year you are looking for. Previous and following are, but you need the one in the middle. How do you avoid this? Look at the original yourself. So I was looking on Ancestry, trying to find this Thomas Candrell, and I was just searching for it. Wasn't bothering to look at the actual images, to look at the next door neighbors, couldn't find it. Eventually, thought about it, went back and looked at my original, and it's had him listed there. Clear as day, Thomas Candrell, beautiful. When I pulled up the transcription of it, they had it transcribed as Tammy. I would never have found him as Tammy Cantrell, but he was there. Sometimes they missed a divider when they were digitizing things. So this 1897 and 1899, they forgot to scan the page in the middle, the like cover page that said 1898. So they were all there. It just wasn't, the identifiers weren't scanned for the transcription or the index to pick up on it. So make sure you look at your originals and flip a couple pages before and a couple pages after. You'd be surprised what's actually there, but it may not be in the index or the transcription. Use some common sense. Some people, when they're transcribing stuff, especially the old-fashioned handwritten documents, E's, I's, T's, L's, Q's, P's, they all kind of look very similar with that old-fashioned loopy handwriting. And there are errors. People make mistakes. It's just humans, and then they make mistakes. Computers make mistakes. So use some common sense. Look at stuff. Is it close? Like the January, June thing. Okay, you have an idea the month starts with a J, ends with an N. Can you look at the original and see if it's an A or a U? Typos. These are a big error and they drive me crazy because I do them all the time. What does this look like? You can't find a record for a person. Your days and dates don't match. Again, look at the original and see how things are spelled, because especially with computers and technology and scanning and searching PDFs and things like that, these are very literal. Whatever you type in is exactly what it looks for. So if you look at the original and it says Springs Field instead of Springfield, typing in Springfield is not going to bring up what you're looking for. Or Springfield is not, because there's an S there. Handwriting can make a huge difference. Again, the A's, the O's, the E's, the I's, the T's, the L's, all of that. So like if you're searching newspapers, whatever you put in, the computer's not smart enough necessarily to understand that John could be spelled multiple ways. Your John might be spelled John, but they're only looking for Jon. Or somebody else could have typed it incorrectly when they were typing in the name for John Smith and typed it as Jon. You go searching for John, you're never going to find it because of that typo. And there could be multiple spellings of a name, and they just didn't choose the right one. Example, Catherine or Catherine. Is it spelled with a K or a C? Nichols. There's multiple spellings of that name. And just because somebody heard something or they thought they heard something doesn't mean that's exactly how it was spelled, how the person spelled it, but it can impact your research, and it may be something to look for if you can't find something. So if you can't find it, did you make a typo? Did the person inputting the information make a typo? What are the common typos that you can add to your search to try to help find your missing information? Another common mistake is you have the wrong John Smith. What does this look like? You can't find your ancestor in a family tree. Where's Grandpa's Uncle George? Who's Aunt Minnie? Your research took you to a different country. You thought you were from Ireland, but this line of research you're on ends up in India. Yes, that has happened, and no, we were not from India. The names, dates, and locations don't match what you have. Your John Smith was born 1817 in Johnson County, Kentucky. You find another John Smith born 1820 in Johnson County, Kentucky. How can you avoid this? Double check names, dates, and locations. So, do you have the name spelled correctly? Is there a middle name? Is there a middle initial? Is it a full name? Is it a nickname? Double check names of parents, siblings. So in the example of the John Smiths born in 1817 and 1820 in the same county, chances are they were probably cousins. You can go back to a birth record or a census record and try to match up siblings and parents to make sure you have the right one. Double check the dates. Could it have been a simple typo? Could it have been transposed numbers? Could it be something like that? Double check your locations. Are you in the right spot? Are you in the right time period? Did the state lines, county lines, country lines change during a time period? Review the information that you currently have. A lot of times I have found if I go back and I look at everything again, just like I had found it for the first time, and read every document from the original, I've probably made a mistake. I probably put in the wrong parent or the wrong birth date or something like that. So review, double check, and again, use your common sense. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Another mistake that I make quite frequently is working too fast or you're too tired. So what does this look like? You're repeating the same search over and over and over. You use documents. You're printing multiple copies of what you have, writing the information incorrectly or making typos, so all of your future research is off. How do you avoid it? Slow down. That's the best thing. Take breaks, set a timer, review what you've already done previously to make sure you didn't make mistakes. Take a break, come back later. Document what you've done, kind of like a research log, so you know when you're working on something. I just keep a sheet of Grandpa Tom. I have looked for his birth certificate, marriage license, whatever. And when I find it, I cross it off. That way I know in the future if I find it, oh, I already have a copy of this. I don't need to print it again. Another thing is you just make silly mistakes. It's one thing to get online and look for documents and bookmark them on Ancestry or send them to yourself. That's one thing, but if you're going to do some serious research and try to figure out where your mistakes are, don't do it at 3 a.m. when you're exhausted. It's just not going to end well for you. Another mistake is never trying anything new. You can't find a record for someone, you can't get past one person, and you can't find that one little bit of information that's going to help you get to the next step, because you're always using the same sources. If you just stick to Ancestry or Family Search, yes, new stuff is added and it's good to go back and do your searches again, but there's so much more out there. You just need to look for it and you will be able to find it. Try a new database. Try going to the local library's webpage. Try going to our webpage. Try going to courthouses. Try going to Census records. Try a different type of record. You can't find the parents. Did you look at the birth records, death records, obituaries, wills, siblings, land records? Did you look at court records? Any kind of newspaper information? A lot of times they had people were entertaining in their homes. Did you try a different repository? A repository is where information is stored. So you've tried Greene County. Did you try Clark County? Did you try McGolphin County? Did you try any other library? Did you try an archive? Did you try the recorder's office? Did you try a different website? Did you try a different courthouse? And if you can, physically go there. If you can't find it online, try to go there. Try to go to the courthouse. Try to go to the archive and see what they have. Another big mistake is not talking to people while they're living. You miss out on a lot of good stories. For example, why did you move to Ohio? Grandpa was wanted and named for a felony. I was living with him, so we left. Why did your family change their name? And what was it before? We moved to the U.S. from where we came from in Sweden. We didn't have last names. You were the son or daughter of a person from a place. Grandpa's name was Pierre Peterson, Mark Houghton, and we just took Peterson. You miss vital clues. There's 10-year age gap between siblings. Why did that happen? Well, it could be that there were miscarriages. Kids died at birth. Kids died young. The influenza. You have gaps in your stories. Grandpa was a brewer in 20 and a farmer in 50. What did he do in the 30s and 40s? He was in jail. And in 1930s, he was in jail. 1940s, he was hiding from the draft. You can miss out on all these stories if you don't talk to people while they're living and they know the stories. How can you avoid it? Talk to people. Aunts, uncles, cousins, parents, grandparents, great aunts and uncles. Anybody who will talk to you, talk to them, because you will, trust me, get some really good stories from these people. Another mistake is only using one spelling. What does this look like? You lose the trail. So example is Katniss. You can't find any records in the US prior to 30, but they came in 1919. And again, as we talked about earlier, records aren't pulled because of the spelling. How do you avoid this? Use the phonetic spelling, sound it out. Was it an Americanized name? Did they change it when they came to the US to sound more American? Are there various spellings of the last name? Can you use the Soundex, which is an online code that people used to help identify names? So try different things and write down every spelling you see. So if you see it on a birth certificate, death certificate, the census record, these are all different versions of how I have seen how to spell Katniss. You can use all of these to try to find more information based on the spelling. The biggest mistake people make is assuming everything's online. So you can't find it online. You've Googled, you've Ancestry, you've done everything that you can do online, and you just assume there's no records. For example, the Fairborn Daily Herald for 98, the database line goes back to 1977. Yeah, the newspaper was there. You just have to go find it. How do you avoid it? Actually go to the place. The library may have stuff that's not digitized, along with all these other places where things are not digitized. They're not online yet. They're stored in a drawer or a box or on a shelf somewhere, and you actually have to go look for it. So go to the library, go to the historical center, go to the archives, go to the recorder's office, go to the government office, go to a family search center if one's close to you, which there is one here in Fairborn. I highly recommend you check it out. Call and talk to a person actually at the location if you can't go there. I have found when I've been doing research in other states, people at libraries and historical centers and government offices and stuff like that have been so helpful. If you call and tell them, hey, I'm doing research, here's what I'm looking for. I can't physically come in. Can you give me an idea of what your databases have? Or can you help me find this information? If you're not comfortable with that, try emailing the place. A lot of times, again, people are more than willing to help you if you're willing to take the first step. And that brings us to the end. So hopefully this gives you some ideas if you're stuck or you're finding information that just doesn't make sense. that you can try these tricks, go back and try to correct these mistakes and see if you can get further in your research. Good luck.